Are you going on Royal Caribbean's Utopia of the Seas? If so, then this walking tour is for you. I'll take you to all the decks and all the places that you'll spend the majority of your time. In addition, at the end, I'll show you around the 3 major theaters and give you a sneak peek into Royal Caribbean's Utopia station. Just like always, there are chapter markers, so if you want to skip ahead to different areas, feel free to do that. Let's get walking. I will start this tour off on deck number 5 in the Royal Promenade. Then I'll head up to deck number 6 and walk through the Boardwalk. Then deck number 8 for Central Park. After that, I'll head up to deck 15 to take a look at the pool area, the Solarium, and the Windjammer. Then it's up to deck 16 for the sports zone. And finally, I'll take you to the 3 theaters that are on Utopia of the Seas and end this video with the Utopia station. Welcome to deck number 5 forward and the Royal Promenade. In the forward section of the Royal Promenade, you can find Boleros and Starbucks and the Spotlight Karaoke Bar. Walking into the Spotlight Karaoke Bar, you can see there's plenty of seating. There's an actual bar for drinks and with a stage where you can sing from over 1,000 songs. Heading back out, you can see Starbucks on the right here. These coffees and drinks are not included with your cruise fare. However, you can use your Starbucks cards to purchase your drinks. You cannot, however, use your rewards. Going into Boleros, you can see there is a pretty sizable dance area with a band area and plenty of seating. Here's a third orbit tip. The bar in Boleros makes some of the best margaritas on the ship. Heading aft, you can see in the middle of the Royal Promenade, there's several islands that are retail stands. They sell everything from watches to hats and scarves and all sorts of things like that, depending on the day of the cruise. There's also stores on both the port and starboard side of the Royal Promenade. Up ahead, you can see the Bell and Barley, which is the English-style pub on the ship. This pub features guitar music live at night. There's plenty of seating. They do have a wide selection of beers available. However, they are not on tap. And this is Sorrento's. Sorrento's is where you can get your pizza either by the slice or by the entire pie. And now we're going to take a look inside the pub. As you can see, there's quite a few tables and seats available. So if you were into listening to live guitar music, this is the place to come. Up in front of us, you can see the customary car that's on all the Oasis Class ships, as well as the Cafe Promenade, which is up here on the right-hand side. The Cafe Promenade is where you can go to get coffees and pastries They do serve regular coffee and decaf coffee for free, but they also will make Starbucks style lattes, cappuccinos, frappuccinos, and so on. And here is the next cruise. This is where you can come to book a future cruise on Royal Caribbean or Celebrity. Right in front of us is the Rising Tide Bar. However, as you can see, it is up at Central Park currently. It is a bar that is also an elevator, so you can ride it up and down between the Royal Promenade and Central Park while you're having your drinks. Up ahead is our favorite bar on Utopia of the Seas, the Pesky Parrot. It is so much fun. It's very bright. They have a bunch of unique drinks, and they have a talking pesky parrot that randomly talks throughout the night while you're sitting in the bar. Also, if you're interested, they have places that you can put dollar bills with your names on them. As you can see, they're plastered all over the ceiling. Up in front of us is guest services. That's where you go if you have any issues or complaints. And up ahead, there are two desks that you might need to go to, the port and shopping desk, as well as the VOOM desk. The VOOM desk is where you go to solve any internet connection issues you might have, or to purchase a package if you haven't done so before the cruise. Across this bridge is the main dining room, which is 3 decks. Now let's head up to deck number 6. Up here you will find the shore excursion desk. So if you have any question about your shore excursions or would like to book a few extra, you can do that here. Also, this is where you will find the Focus Photo Gallery, which is where you can take a look at all the pictures that the crew has been taking of you while on this cruise. On the other side of the ship is where you'll find the Crown and Anchor desk. This is where you can ask questions about the loyalty program, your benefits, and things along those lines. And right next to this desk is where you will find the entrance to the Schooner Bar. The Schooner Bar has a piano and features live music in the evening, as well as quite a few unique drinks and an overlook of the Royal Promenade. And right across from the Schooner Bar is Picture This, which is a very fancy photo studio. So if you want to get your picture taken in a more professional setting, this is a place to go. Up across this bridge is the entrance to the Boardwalk. In the Boardwalk, you can find both the AquaTheater, the Carousel, Playmakers, and the Doghouse. Up ahead on the left is the Doghouse. They serve gourmet hot dogs and sausages fresh off the grill. And as you can see here, these are some of the horses in their different stages of development for the carousel. They were all hand carved. And here's a closer look of the carousel. By the way, this isn't just for kids, adults can ride it as well. Up on the left here is Sugar Beach. This is a fancy candy shop, so anything sweet you can possibly think of, you can probably buy in that store. And up ahead of us is Playmakers. If you are a beer drinker, this is where you will come to get beers on tap, because the pub might have one or two if you're lucky, but if you come up to Playmakers, they have several. In addition, there are TVs everywhere playing every single sporting event you can possibly think of that's currently going on in the world. This is a very popular bar, especially during any large game. Across from Playmakers is Johnny Rockets. Johnny Rockets is free for breakfast. However, for lunch and dinner, it is a specialty restaurant and does cost extra. And in front of us now is the Ultimate Abyss, specifically the exit to the Ultimate Abyss. I'll show you the entrance further along in this video. The Ultimate Abyss is a dry slide, so you go down in, think like a burlap sack sort of thing. And finally, the AquaTheater, which is one of the main attractions in the Boardwalk. This is where you will see the Cirque du Soleil style water show that is done on Utopia of the Seas. And off to the left here is one of the rock climbing walls. This is rock climbing wall number 1. Number 2 is directly behind us. And typically number 1 is the only wall that's open for climbing. And now for another third orbit tip. On embarkation day, if you're looking for a place to watch sail away that's not mobbed, come to the AquaTheater and go to either the right or left side of it and walk down the stairs to deck 5. There you will find the running track, and simply go to the very aft of the ship once you get down to the running track, and at most there will be less than 10 people, probably less than 5 people back here during sail away, and you'll have the entire area to yourself, and you won't be stuck in a huge mob watching sail away. Now, welcome to deck number 8 midships, and specifically Central Park. Central Park is a garden of real plants on Utopia of the Seas. None of these are fake. All of them are real, and they have an entire gardening crew that takes care of them. Up on the left here is Chop's Grill. It's basically the steakhouse that is on Utopia of the Seas. You can get several different cuts of steak. They have lots of appetizers and sides. And right here is the Rising Tide bar, actually up here on deck number 8. And here you can look down on the Royal Promenade if you're up here on deck 8 in Central Park. Up here on the right side is the start of Azumi. Azumi is a Japanese restaurant on Utopia of the Seas, and this is Azumi in the Park, which is a walk-up window where you can buy smaller items to eat while you're sitting in the park. Across from Azumi is the Park Cafe. This is a complimentary place to eat. They have sandwiches and salads and stuff like that. Now back over to Azumi. The center section here is where you find all the hibachis. Hibachis are where you basically sit around a grill, and one of the Azumi cooks will cook for you
right on that grill. It's very similar to what you would find on land, with one exception. They are not allowed to use any fire. So if you've ever been to a hibachi restaurant on land where there's all these big flame explosions and all that, that will not happen on the ship because they're not allowed to do that. And up here on the right hand side is, again, Azumi. This is where you have table service, where you can get sushi, sashimi, udon, ramen, and your typical Japanese non-hibachi food. Now we're up in the forward end of Central Park, and we're going to start working our way aft again. Also up here, there are a couple stores, higher end stores, that sell more expensive items than you would find down on the Royal Promenade. There's tons of seating scattered throughout Central Park, which is very nice at nighttime because you can look up at the sky, you can listen to the live performers playing like jazz or classical music in Central Park. Now we're passing through the Park Cafe seating that's outdoors, and there's a lot of indoor seating, which is on the opposite side of these windows from where we are right now. And up ahead of us on the right hand side is the Trellis Bar. The Trellis Bar is just a bar you can come to sit outside in Central Park at night and have a few cocktails. It is exposed to the sky, which means if it is raining out, you will get wet at this bar, unless you're under the glass, but still. Here's another look at the Rising Tide Bar. And up on the left is our favorite specialty dining restaurant on any of the Royal Caribbean ships, and that's 150 Central Park. It is a very upscale, fine dining, specialty dining restaurant. And that brings us to the end of our tour of Central Park. Now let's go up to Deck 15 aft, and we are going to start by the Windjammer, and we'll come all the way around back to the Windjammer, and then I'll take you inside the Windjammer to take a look at it. We are going to be walking up the port side of the ship, but as you can see where we are now, we're right over the top of Central Park. Now we're heading out into the pool area. There are 3 main pools on Utopia of the Seas. There are 2 sports style pools, which is where they do the different activities. People can swim laps and so on. And they're right across the ship from each other. So one is on the starboard and one's on the port side. This is the port side sports pool, which again, people do laps in, they do activities in these pools throughout the day. And it's sitting right next to one of the Lime and Coconuts, which is a tropical themed bar, and they serve their signature drink, the Lime and Coconut, which if you've never had one before, is one of our go-to drinks when we're on Utopia. Up here on the right is Sprinkles. This is where you'll find your soft serve ice cream, and it's conveniently located right next to the pools. Now as we work our way forward, you can see we're about to get to the Splashaway Bay, which is the kid water park on Utopia of the Seas. There are buckets that dump water on the kids, there's water slides, there's water guns, there's all sorts of things for the kids to do for hours on end. When we bring our grandkids, they never want to leave that area. And now again, you can see we're kind of walking along Central Park up on this deck. Up in front of us are the Perfect Storm slides. There are actually 3 of them. The yellow and blue one are very similar. And the red one over on the other side has a very unique drain sort of component to the slide, and I'll show you that when we get to the other side. Up here on the left side is the view bar. This is a bar that looks out over the ocean. It is very nice, unless there's a lot of wind or the weather isn't the greatest. But on a sunny day with very little wind, it's an amazing place to sit and have a drink and just look out over the ocean. Now we're entering the Solarium on deck 15 forward. This is the adult-only section of Utopia of the Seas. It is a glass enclosed area, and there are hot tubs here. There's a bar, and there's also a place to get some food. It is called the Solarium Bistro. You can bring children into the Solarium Bistro as long as that's why they're coming into the Solarium. They can go in and out of the restaurant, but they can't hang out outside of the restaurant in the Solarium. The Solarium on Utopia is 2 decks. It is the deck that we're currently on, which is deck 15, and then there is a stairwell that takes you down to the glass area to look out over the ocean, which is deck 14. And as you can see, there's several hot tubs that you can lounge about in. Some even have loungers in them. And here is the Solarium bar, which is right outside the Solarium Bistro. Up ahead on the right and 1 deck up is Hook Seafood, which is a New England style seafood restaurant. As we're going to leave the Solarium in a few seconds, up on the left here is a very large infinity hot tub where you can go in the hot tub and just look out over the ocean. And with it being an infinity hot tub, it actually looks like the water of the hot tub blends in with the ocean itself. Here's the 3rd orbit tip. If you go in the morning, you'll be the only people in that hot tub. There's almost never anyone in the hot tub in the morning. Now we're walking back out onto the pool deck, and as you can see, one of the water slides is up ahead of us. This slide is called the Supercell, and it's got this bowl that the slide spits you out in, and it's like you're going down a toilet bowl drain. You go around in circles, and then you go down the hole in the middle, and you come out right here. This is the 3rd pool on Utopia of the Seas, and this is the beach pool. There are lounge chairs in the water all up and down the pool. It's as if you're at a high-end resort in the Caribbean right next to one of their pools. And up ahead, you can see the green line patterns. Those are all lime and coconut bars. And here's a hot tub and tons of seating for around the pool. And as you can see, here's another lime and coconut bar. If you happen to be a smoker, this is the designated smoking area on Utopia of the Seas. And up ahead here is the 2nd sports pool. Again, this is where they do a lot of events. They have lap swimming. And when none of that's going on, you can just swim in it like a regular pool. And finally, up ahead of us is the spare tire. This is actually a food truck at sea, and it's the first one on a Royal Caribbean ship. Now we're back to the Windjammer, so let's take a look inside. The Windjammer on Utopia of the Seas is basically a large U that goes from one side of the ship to the other and crosses over the boardwalk at the very aft of the ship. Just like other Windjammers on Royal Caribbean, there are different food islands that feature different food items throughout the day. And in this case, this is breakfast. So as you can see, there's an egg island, there's a pastry island, and so on. They also have coffee stations, iced tea, water, and in the morning, they have free orange juice. Welcome to Deck 16 Midships. And we're gonna start working our way aft towards the sport zone. Up ahead on the left side is where you can find table tennis. And right behind that is the sports court. The sports court is where you will find pickleball, basketball, soccer, basically anything that requires a court. And there's big nets over the top and glass walls so that you don't have to worry about kicking one of the soccer balls into the ocean. Continuing to work our way aft, we're approaching now one of the most popular things on the ship, and that is the flow rider. Unfortunately, the Utopia of the Seas only has one flow rider, and it can get quite busy throughout the day. You can do boogie boarding or surfing on this flow rider. They offer private lessons as well as small group lessons, and they have open surfing and boogie boarding throughout the day. Up ahead is where you find the entrance to the Ultimate Abyss. This is a 10-story dry slide, and this is where you pick up your burlap sort of sacks to slide down the slide in. And on the left is the Wipeout Bar. This is where you can grab a drink while you wait for people on the flow rider. And up ahead on the left side is the Playscape area for children. This is an interactive play area that doesn't involve water. Now we're going to work our way up this small flight of stairs. And up ahead of us on the right is the miniature golf course, which I'll show you in a second. And on the left, down below, that is the boardwalk. And up ahead, that is the end of the zip line. The beginning of it is up over our left shoulder right now, which is right here. And you just go on the days that it's open. They put you in a harness, they give you a helmet, and you zip across the boardwalk. Now, it's very important. You have to have shoes with laces or they will not let you on the zip line. And right here is the miniature golf course called Aqua Dunes. It is a 9-hole course. The balls are not real golf balls, and the putters have like rubber heads on them. So if you are a halfway decent golfer, just be forewarned that your putting game is not going to be very good on this miniature golf course. up in front of us is the Cantina Fresca, and they do have some absolutely amazing margaritas. So if you are able to and you drink margaritas, come up here. However, if it's later at night and this bar isn't open, as I mentioned earlier, Boleros does make some pretty good margaritas. On the left-hand side up here, if you can't tell from all the tables, is El Loco Fresh. This is a free place to come for tacos, nachos, burritos, and fresh salsas to put on all of that. It is typically very, very crowded when it's open, especially if you come during normal dining times. And up on the left-hand side is the arcade. The arcade has a lot of classical video games, but it also has some modern ones, as well as air hockey and claw machines, if you're into that sort of thing. Now we are approaching the overlooks to the pools, and deck 16 goes all the way around all three of the pools with overlooks. Deck 16 also offers some amazing views of the ocean. And now we're back up front. That little dome area on the right hand side is over the top of the large hot tub that's down by the solarium. And these windows up here will let you look down over the solarium. And that is an entrance to Hook Seafood. However, that is not the main entrance, and a lot of times, obviously, that is closed. The main entrance is actually inside by the elevator bank. Happened to be very cold when we videoed this walking tour. And up on the right hand side is the entrance to Hook Seafood, and this is where you would come if you had reservations to get a table. Hook Seafood is a higher quality specialty dining restaurant. Their seafood is above average. It isn't outstanding, but it is better than most restaurants you would ever find on a cruise ship. Now we're heading back outside again, and we're going to work our way aft on the port side of the ship. And now let's take a look at the 3 theaters that are on the Utopia of the Seas. Starting with Studio B, which is the ice skating show. This is one of our favorite shows on Utopia. They do an amazing job considering the ship is moving as much as it is, with all their flips and spins, and yet they almost never fall down. Now let's take a look at the AquaTheater, which again is on deck 6. in the Boardwalk area. This is where you will find the Cirque du Soleil style water shows. And finally, let's take a look at the main theater. This is where you will find all the headliner shows and the shows put on with the performers from Utopia of the Seas. As I promised, let's take a look at Utopia Station, which is the train dining car that is on a cruise ship that you can experience a gang of criminals robbing your food car while you're eating. It is a truly unique experience being on a car that's moving on a cruise ship that's also moving.
What an amazing ship. Utopia of the Seas has everything that makes Oasis Class ships great, plus a few added bonuses like the Utopia Station. If you enjoyed this walking tour and want to see what it's actually like to go on a cruise on Utopia of the Seas, why not watch this video right here? And you can come along with Kat and I on our 4-day Bahama cruise and experience the Utopia Station instead of just seeing a preview. Come with us. Let's go.